The purpose of this video is in no way to support any racial discrimination or discrimination on the basis of skin color. Anyone who uses this video for the purpose of racial discrimination is using it incorrectly. And anyone who says this video is racial discrimination is also interpreting this video incorrectly. The purpose of this video is to show that there is little to no discrimination by white cops towards black or Hispanic people. And now, please enjoy the video. Is there a problem with cops? Yes. Is that problem based on race? No. Is there a huge problem with cops? Doesn't seem so. Even according to the New York Times, there seems to be little use of excessive force by cops. And ignoring that factor is disingenuous at best and a lie at worst. To say that cops are out and about beating or killing people is just false. It's gotten much better over the many decades. Now, as for unconstitutional laws and laws that just don't help in protecting people in any way, yes, that is a problem. However, you can't solely put that blame on cops. Do they deserve some of the blame? Yes, because when they enforce it, that's wrong. However, not everyone sees it that way. It's not entirely black and white. There's a lot of gray. There are many people who think they are protecting children or vulnerable people who may take drugs, and so that's why they think drug laws are important. Now, obviously, that logic is wrong because it's just been shown that drug laws don't help, but that doesn't matter to them. They just are so focused on their ideology. Now, are cops discriminating against blacks and Hispanics? Are they racist towards them? Well, according to many studies, no. Papers going as far back as 2003 have shown that there is no racial bias, or if there is, there's little of it. Most of the racial bias, from what I can tell they were saying, is towards white people and not towards people of color. There is one paper that did say that there was racial bias towards people of color in the sense of arrest. However, they did not find it when shootings happen. Now you might be wondering, why is it then that black and Hispanic people are arrested at a higher rate, and why are they shot at a higher rate? Well, they have more interactions with the police, but again, not because of racism. According to the Bureau of Justice and Statistics, of the sentenced prisoners in the federal jurisdiction under violent crime, specifically 59% were black, 29% were white, and 11.5% were Hispanic. For property crimes under the federal jurisdiction, 42% were black, 43% were white, and 15% were Hispanic. Prisoners who were sentenced in a state jurisdiction for violent crime, 41% were black, 31% were white, and 27% were Hispanic. For property crime, 32.8% were black, 49% were white, and 18% were Hispanic. And again, these were people who were specifically sentenced. They were found guilty for their crime. So these numbers do show that there is a problem within the black community. And there's also somewhat of a problem with violent crime within the Hispanic community. However, though, what I have found with doing the numbers, whites do commit more property crime than Hispanics. So in that area, whites have a bit of a problem with property crime. The only area in which Hispanics commit less violent crime than whites is in with the federal jurisdiction. However, the federal jurisdiction has far fewer sentencings. Another factor to take into account when trying to see whether police are unfairly targeting blacks or Hispanics is to look at population density. Where Hispanic and black populations are, they are concentrated in mostly large counties and in large cities, while a huge percentage of the white population is concentrated in more rural areas. Since those areas are more condensed, the crime is going to be higher there on average. So those are the main reasons as to why Black and Hispanics areas get policed more. As I said earlier, many studies have shown that there is little to no racial bias towards Black or Hispanic people, and that most racial bias is probably actually towards white people, especially within fatal shootings. Now you might be wondering, why then are Black people more likely to commit property crime and violent crime, and why are Hispanic people more likely to commit violent crime? Many people will say poverty is the main factor as to why Blacks are more likely to commit crime, but that isn't the case. If poverty was the reason why Blacks commit more violent crime and more property crime, then we would see similar numbers with Hispanics. And the reason why I say that is because the poverty levels for both Blacks and Hispanics is really similar. They're only a few percentage points different. Another example I can bring to you is from the Heritage Foundation, when they found between 1950 and 1974, Black income in Philadelphia almost doubled and homicides more than doubled. The Heritage Foundation even goes on further, saying that even the Reverend Jesse Jackson, whose prescriptions for social reform mirror conventional liberal ideology, and admits that Black-on-Black homicide is not an issue of poverty. The Heritage Foundation also continues going on, saying that the crime rate of other communities also shows no link between low incomes and crime. That the Chinese in San Francisco in the mid-60s, for instance, had the lowest family income of any ethnic group, less than $4,000 per year, but next to no crime, and only 5 Chinese in all of California were then in prison. Another example is that the average consumption per person with the US, for example, the lowest 20% of households spend more than Australia, Spain, Portugal, Japan, Denmark, Iceland, New Zealand, Canada, United Kingdom. All of these countries, they have very low crime rates. As the data shows, poverty does not explain why Blacks commit more crime. Now you might be thinking, then why do they commit more crime? It's not because of race, I can tell you that. According to my research, it's probably linked to a few things. One is the single-parent households, because according to some stats, single-parent households are the most common within Black and Hispanic communities, especially Black communities. The second problem is gang culture. Gang culture is very rampant within the Black and Hispanic communities. And the third reason is probably because of victimhood culture. According to Ann Wordsmith, a professor of sociology at the Illinois State University, she says that victimhood culture is basically a problem for the Black community, and that this could be perhaps a attributing factor to the poverty levels within the Black community. So to summarize my points, according to the statistics and studies, police do not commit a huge amount of police brutality, nor do they have a racial bias seemingly towards Black or Hispanic people. There was a paper that said they did find some racial bias towards Black and Hispanic people from cops. However, they did not find it for when a cop was fatally shooting a Black or Hispanic person. I then went over the fact that Blacks and Hispanics disproportionately commit more violent crime, and that the Black community commits a disproportionate amount of the property crime. But I did find disproportionately whites commit more property crime than that of Hispanics. Now, the other factor I had said was that the Black and Hispanic communities are concentrated in much smaller areas, and that whites are much more spread out throughout the country. Those were the main contributing factors as to why Black and Hispanic communities are policed more, and also why Black and Hispanics are more likely to be shot by police. And of course, the reasons why Blacks and Hispanics disproportionately commit more violent crime and why Blacks disproportionately commit more property crime is linked to not poverty, but actually to victimhood culture, gang culture, and single-parent households. Anyways, I hope this answers the questions you may or may not have for the Black and Hispanic communities and for your original beliefs that you may have had of the police. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that the police don't need reform. I believe there are many other things we can do. Getting rid of certain laws, having all police officers wear body cameras, not only for themselves, but also for the public. Require better and more training. These things and some other things can help with reducing the police brutality and the police complaints. Again, in no way do I think cops are perfect little angels, or that I think that all cops are good. I don't think that. I don't think we should treat cops as heroes. We should treat them as any other person. Anyways, those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, subscribe, share it, comment down below, and tell me what you thought. Help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. I would really love to reach that goal. And if you really like my content, consider donating to my Patreon. Do all that, and I'll see y'all later.